I happens to be the square root of -1. But if we want to simplify a power of I, we need to have memorized the first 4 powers of I. I to the first power is itself, so that's I. I squared is equal to -1. I to the third power is going to equal -I. Now you might be able to reason that out since I times I squared is I cubed and -1 times I is -I. And then I to the fourth is +1. Again, you might reason that out as I squared times I squared is I to the fourth, so -1 times -1 is 1. However you want to look at that, you need to have the first 4 memorized. Now we're going to use I to the fourth to rewrite I to the power of 23. We want to use as many I to the fourths as possible. So let's start expanding that. I to the 23rd is I to the fourth times I to the fourth. So far we're up to I to the 8th, times I to the fourth again, we're up to I to the 12th, times I to the fourth, we would be up to I to the 16, times I to the fourth, up to I to the 20th, and now we'll have times I to the third. If we add all those exponents, we get back to 23. We're using as many I to the fourths as possible because every one of those I to the fourths is just 1. Multiplying by 1, times 1 times 1 times 1, we're still at 1. And then looking up there at our memorized facts, I to the third is equal to -I. So multiplying that together, we get -I. The first strategy that I gave you, we rewrite the power using as many I to the fourths as possible. But how about a shortcut? You start the shortcut by taking the exponent and dividing it by 4. If I divide 23 by 4, I get 5 remainder 3. I only care about the remainder. So you replace the previous exponent, which was 23, with the remainder. So that equals I to the third. Looking at our memorized powers of I, we get -I. I'm going to take you through 2 more quick examples using the shortcut. So we're starting off with I to the 18th power. So take the exponent of 18 and divide it by 4. When I divide 18 by 4, 4 fits in there 4 times. 4 times 4 is 16. Subtract and I get 2. You're going to replace the original exponent 18 with the remainder 2. Now that I've simplified that power, I'm going to go to my memorized powers of I, and I to the second power is equal to -1. To simplify I to the 20th power, take the exponent and divide it by 4. When I take 20 divided by 4, it fits in there 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. Subtract and I get 0. All I care about is the remainder. I'm going to replace the original exponent of 20 with the remainder. So I to the 20th is equal to I to the power of 0. I do not need to use my memorized exponents here because anything to the 0 power is equal to 1.